Hi everyone, it's Heather Cooper from Playing with Paper Crafting. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Canada. Today I want to show you how to make this really cute fun fold card. It's called a corner pop-up card, and I just want to show you what it looks like when you open it. So when you open it, the one side folds down like a floor almost, and then you get this kind of a shape. It's got a see-through window, and it's just kind of different. And this piece here holds it in place. I made this one using All the Good Things stamp set and Artistically Asian. So I think they kind of go together. And then I used some of the Nature's Poem Designer Series paper on the front. And I had a lot of fun doing this, so I just wanted to show you how to go about making it. So we'll get started with that right now. So to do it, you need an 8x8 piece of cardstock. So it's going to take a whole piece of cardstock for you. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. And you need to score your cardstock at 4 inches both ways. So I'm going to move my cutting blade so that I don't accidentally cut it, which is something I do, and use my scoring blade here to score it at 4 inches. And then I'm going to turn it and measure it up at 4 inches again and score it at 4 inches. Okay, now I want to, on one of the squares that I've just made, I want to score it on the diagonal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the two corners, this corner here and the one at the bottom, and I'm just going to line them up in the track, and then I'm just going to score. It doesn't really matter which one you do, so I'm just going to score down to the middle, and that will give us one that's scored on the diagonal. So we've got 3 that are unscored or 1 that's scored on the diagonal. So this one that's in the top left, that's going to be the one that has the window cut in it. And our Designer Series paper is going to go on the outside. So we're going to glue that on right away so that we have a reference point. So we're going to put that on right there. Okay, now that we've got that done, we're going to die cut a window in it. This die is from the Layering Circles framelits, and so we're going to die cut it from this side, but you can see that this is not going to fit through the big shot that way, so we're going to have to fold this over like this, and then run it through the big shot this way. Of course, that's going to give you an imprint on this side, but we're going to be covering it up with white cardstock panels, so that's not going to show. Okay, so I'm just going to go do that, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I've just die cut the circle, and you can see that there is an imprint on this side from the die, but we'll be covering that up. So here's the window that we've made, and now we want to make a frame to just fancy up the edge there. Cover it up a little bit, make it a cleaner looking edge. So we're going to take a piece of Sahara sand. We're going to take that same circle that we used to make the window, and then we're going to take the scallop circle that nests with it, so it just fits on the outside edge. And then we're going to run those two together through the big shot. I just grab one here so I don't knock everything over. Okay. And you can see that when I remove the center, that we have a nice frame. So that's how you can make a nice frame for your projects. It's by using those nesting circles and scallop circles. Okay, so to attach the frame, we're just going to use some of the liquid multi-purpose glue. Just hold it there for a moment, and you can see that just softens that cut edge and sets it up nicely. Okay, so now we're going to do a little bit of cutting. So I don't know if you can see this line here that we scored, the diagonal line, but I'm going to cut about 1/4 inch below that diagonal line, and I'm going to cut right up to the vertical scored line and stop at the vertical scored line. And then I'm going to cut the vertical scored line all the way up to the center. Right there. And I'm just going to discard that piece. And then I'm going to wedge this a little bit. It just makes it easier to fold over. And using my bone folder, I'm going to just give that a little bit of a burnish and then open it up again. That's on the outside of this is where we'll be putting our tear and tape to hold that together. For now though, I want to do some stamping, so I want to stamp the panel that's going to go here. I should give you some dimensions. So the panel that's going to go here is a 3 3/4 inch panel, and then I die cut a circle using one of the layering circle framelits that was size smaller than the circle that I cut for the window, so that it would fit just inside the window. And so I'm going to stamp those two panels right now. So let's start with this one. And I need a little piece of scrap paper so that I can do some stamping off. So I'm just going to use that discarded piece that we had there. And these are the two stamp sets I'm going to use again. All the Good Things and Artistically Asian. So I'm going to start with Artistically Asian because that's the one I'm going to use for this larger piece. So I'm going to use the bamboo, and there's different sentiments that you can use. I'm going to use the Faith is Trusting God one, but any of them will work. So for the bamboo, I'm going to use mint macaron. And I'm going to ink up my image in the mint macaron, but I want it to be very light, so I'm going to just stamp it off first and then stamp it onto my white, Whisper White cardstock. That's just about the right amount. And then I'm going to use Grapefruit Grove for this sentiment. So that's all ready to go. And now we're going to do the small circle. And I'm going to use the small koi from All the Good Things. This is one of the new technology in rubber stamps that's Stampin' Up! Has copyright pending on. And it uses a technology that gives a different opacity to the ink when you ink it up to give a really realistic looking image. So I'm going to ink it up in Grapefruit Grove, but just to give it a little bit more depth and dimension, I'm going to take some Calypso Coral and a sponge dauber. And Calypso Coral is just a little bit darker than Grapefruit Grove. And I'm just going to add some little highlights in Calypso Coral to it. And then I'm going to stamp it as far to the left as I can and still get it all on my paper there. And you get a really nice image. And I'm going to take my mint macaron, and this little image, which is like a medallion, but I think it's sort of like a lily pad. I think it's meant to be a lily pad. I'm going to ink it up in, or not a lily pad, a lily itself, a water lily. So I'm going to ink it up in mint macaron. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take some Tranquil Tide and a sponge dauber. And just add a few little highlights around the edge to just add a little more dimension. And I'm going to stamp that quite high up as far as I can because I want to leave room for some Japanese characters from Artistically Asian. Got that. And then we'll just pick a couple of the Japanese characters and we'll use some Memento Tuxedo Black ink for that. Just ink up that and just add those Japanese characters just below the lily. So now I'm going to take this stamp panel and I'm going to add it here. Now it's really important that you use dimensionals to mount this because we want it sticking out a little bit, I don't know what that is, on the page or on the panel the it's going to help anchor the floor or the bottom part once you open up the card. I didn't explain that very well. Let me just open this up and show you. This part here has to be anchored, otherwise it just kind of hangs there. So when you have this wall sticking out, that anchors it in place. And center that on the top right corner there. And you've got that in place. Okay. So this one here is going to be the one that has the little fish on it. So I'm going to add dimensionals for that. Okay. So we'll just center that in the middle. Okay. Now, before we finally get it all put together, the last thing that we need to do, let me just get rid of that. There. Last thing that we need to do is just to add the designer series paper to the back. Okay, so now we're ready to go. So I'm just going to fold that flap up. I'm going to take my tear and tape and just add a strip of tear and tape. Make sure that your tear and tape doesn't go beyond the flap that you've made. See, mine's going wonky here. Because if it goes beyond it, then it'll stick to everything on the outside. Okay, so just burnish it on there with your bone folder and remove the film. Okay, so now you open it up, and here's what you're going to do. You're going to fold that flap up, and you're going to fold this flap up. Okay, so these two flaps are up, that little tab is open, and now all you're going to need to do is to just fold this over onto that one, like that. You can fold it, turn it this way, and just burnish it a little bit, and voila, you've got it exactly where you need to have it. So it's pretty easy to do. Okay, and that's all there is to making the corner pop-up card. I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial, and pop over to my blog, playingwithpapercrafting.com, and you'll find all the measurements and any other information that you're going to need on the products that I've used today. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.